Right guys, so WWDC 2024 happened yesterday and Apple announced a bunch of things. Firstly, iOS 18. That was probably one of the biggest updates to iOS we've seen in a long time. Now the main thing that happened on this Apple event, I think everyone's talking about, is Apple Intelligence. This is the new Apple AI. From my first impressions of what they showed off at WWDC, it does seem very similar to what other companies are offering with AI on their phones and their integration with all the AI stuff. And in Apple fashion, they have given it a crazy name, Apple Intelligence. But what did we expect? However, that's not out until the end of the year. And even with iOS 18 beta, there's no Apple AI in sight. So until that point, I'm going to go through everything that's come out in iOS 18 with beta 1 and 10 of my favourite features. These 10 features aren't in any particular order. It's just 10 of my favourite features that have come out for iOS 18. Now let's start things off with the conversion feature in the calculator app for iOS 18. This essentially allows you to take any metric, whether that be a currency, a weight, a measurement, whatever you can think of, you can convert that in the calculator app. That's a new incredible feature. I really like it. I can imagine if I did go abroad or whatever I was doing, I can imagine using this a lot more often than I expect. Now, Apple did also introduce the Math Sketch feature in iOS 18. Now, I'm not going to use this, however, if I was still back in high school, I'd have absolutely killed for this feature. I was pretty terrible when it comes to algebra and equations and things like that. So if I had this back in high school, I'd have absolutely loved it. But I can imagine a lot of people who are studying maths or teaching maths even, it'll be a really, really good tool for people to use. But I think the greatest thing about this is that it actually does it in your own handwriting. And yeah, it's just a really cool feature to have. Not something I'm going to be using very much, but I can imagine millions of people will be able to use this and really enjoy it. Now the second feature I want to go through is the new ability to move icons wherever you want on your home screen. Yes, I know Android have had this for years. I can do this whenever I want on my S24 Ultra, but Apple have finally added this to iOS and it's really, really good. Like they showed off in the event, if you've got a photo you want to use as your home screen wallpaper but your apps are in the way, you're just not going to be able to use that wallpaper because it'll just feel cluttered. However, now you can. You can move all the icons to the bottom rather than all starting at the top, and it's good for that. And it's also good for people who like to use their phone one-handed. Not everyone can reach the top of the phone to just press the app when they want to open an app. It's just good that people now have the option to move the apps wherever they want, make it easier for using the phone one-handed, whatever it is. It's a really nice feature for Apple to add 18 years later. It's definitely taken a little bit too long for that one, but at least it's here now. Now this next feature is missing a few features, but it's a really good start to a bit more customization with the iPhone, and that is the fact you can now change the icons on your home screen. Now it is a little bit limited at the moment, but it's a good starting point from having to just make a shortcut of an app in the shortcut app, and then obviously going through shortcuts to open an app and change the icon that way. Have you ever done that before? You'll know what I mean. But now you can actually change mainly just the colour of your app icons. You can't completely change the image, which I think Apple should have added. However, you can either have normal mode, where all the icons just look normal. You can have dark mode, which only seems to be working on the stock iPhone apps as of now. However, between now and when iOS 18 releases and further on from them, I'm sure developers will change their app icons to support this new feature. However, when it comes to customization, you can change the colour of the apps, but they only seem to be in dark mode, and tell me if I'm wrong. If you can change this in your settings, let me know. But I only seem to be able to make the apps change colour with a black background. I actually quite like the idea of having a white background with the changing the colours on the inside, or the white logo with the background being a different colour. That's the kind of option that would be really nice to see. However, right now we only have dark mode with changing the colour of the icons. And for every other app that's not natively supported for this feature, it seems like Apple have just added a hue saturation layer and just colorized all the apps. So some apps look good, especially when they're more contrasty. However, ones that look a bit more flat, they look a bit weird and don't look like they just stand out not in a good way. Same goes with the dark mode for the apps as well. Like for example, Gmail or YouTube, they've all got white backgrounds with a red logo. When you put the app to dark mode, it just looks like a big mess. And like I said, this will be changed in the future. It's a brand new feature. It's been out for a day. So obviously this is going to be something developers are going to have to adapt to. But as of now, that's kind of a problem. Now the next feature, which is arguably one of the best features for iOS 18, and that is the new control center. Basically now you can fully customize the control center to be look and feel however you want. You can change the size of widgets, completely change the widgets, remove the widgets, and you've even got pages for the control center as well. So with a simple swipe down from your control center, you can go to your music page, to your HomeKit page, to just a full page of controls. But the best part of this is you can just change any of them and you have multiple pages with complete customization. This is really, really good, and it's a nice feature to see Apple implement into iOS 18. But I tell you what, when you first download it, it feels like you've got like a modded iPhone. It doesn't feel like it would be made by Apple. Everything's just so circular. It's weird. Don't get me wrong, it looks good, but feels weird when you first see it. And building on top of what's new with customization in the iPhone, let's talk about the lock screen shortcuts that you can now change. So for the past few years, there's been two shortcuts in the bottom right and bottom left corner of your lock screen. It's always been flashlight and it's always been camera. However, if you don't use those two, or you don't use one of those, they've never been used and they're always a bit redundant. However, now you can change it to whatever you want. So whether that be open an app directly, scan a QR code, even keep it as it is. But it means now you've got that option to change it up, choose a different shortcut, and just gives you that little bit extra customization. Now the next feature is a little bit less boring, nothing too exciting as such, but the settings app has been refined a little bit further. So when you open up the settings app for the first time, there's a lot less on the front page. It's all put into more folders and hidden a little bit further. Everything just looks a bit more cleaner, a bit more accessible. It's good to see that Apple have done this with the iOS 18. And in addition to that, the passwords section of settings from before is now got its own dedicated app, which, moving on to the next feature, can be hidden or locked by the new app lock and hiding feature. This is brilliant. Now, I'm not someone who's going to be using that very often, just because one, not got really anything I want to hide. Two, I don't really pass my phone on to anyone very often. Like, if I'm giving my phone to someone, it's not someone who's going to be like going through all my phone. So I can imagine it's going to be great for parents who give the phone to the kids all the time to play on. You can lock your banking app, you can lock apps that you don't want your kids going onto, just so you know, peace of mind that they're not going to be going through ruining stuff, which is good to see. And you can fully hide apps as well. So yeah, if you've got an app on your phone that you don't want anyone other than yourself to know you've got, and not only it'll be hidden from your lock screen and your app library, having a hidden app will block notifications, and anything from that app or relating to that app will be hidden completely throughout the phone. Good to see. Now another feature that Android have had for such a long time, but it's nice to see come to iPhone, is schedule text messaging. This is good because if you are someone who forgets to message someone happy birthday on their birthday, then you can actually schedule that message and then they'll get it on time, and it won't be the day after and you're like, oh, sorry mate, happy birthday. But that's only one of the uses. I can imagine people use this a lot for work and stuff like that. It's going to be a nice feature to have, and it's just, you know what, just polishes the iPhone experience off a little bit more. Following on from that, another feature that has finally come to iPhone is RCS text messaging. Now this is just making SMS redundant now, thankfully. Basically, if you are messaging someone from an iPhone who hasn't got an iPhone, got an Android for example, you can still send them messages, images, voice memos, all that kind of stuff. Makes it a little bit easier, and yeah, just doesn't charge as much on your phone bill, which is good to know. And last but not least, one of the best features that isn't quite out yet on iOS, but will be coming out later on in the year, is a new redesign to the Mail app. Now, I don't know about yourself, but I just have never used the Mail app just because, quite frankly, it's really, really ugly and doesn't look very nice to use. However, there's a new redesign coming for the Mail app. It's not out on the beta just yet, but it will be out later on in the year. And basically, there's new categories for the Mail app, and also it looks like every mail has an icon as well, so hopefully that makes it slightly less boring going through your emails if you are someone who uses the Mail app anyway. But yeah, that's it. That's 10 of my favourite features for iOS 18. I've only been using iOS 18 Beta 1 for about a day now. It's literally, I'm surprised they released it so quickly. As soon as the WWDC event ended, it was there. It was ready to go. But yeah, on a whole, it's been a big significant update for iOS. Quite a lot of new features. I can't wait for Apple Intelligence to drop later on in the year. It will only be on the iPhone 15 Pro. iOS 18 will be coming to every device, well, from the past few years anyway, but Apple Intelligence will only be on the iPhone 15 Pros and the M series of iPads. and Macs. But that's going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed the content, do me a massive favour, leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.